facebook.com/Radyo Katipunan. Check out our Instagram and our Twitter at Radyo Katipunan and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Radyo Katipunan FM for more exclusive content. Palalimin ang kamalayan sa mga isyong napapanahon, makisangkot at makiisa kasama ang simbahang lingkod ng bayan, ang socio-political apostolate ng Kapisanan ni Jesus. Ito ang Kwentuhang Bayan mula alas 11 ng umaga tuwing Biyernes dito lang sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM. Dahil naniniwala kami na posible ang isang mas mabuting lipunan at maaari itong simulan sa isang kwentuhan. Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Start your morning with us and make your mark. This is Mornings at Arcade. On Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
The fire we reported at the fire hall is still burning out.
Do you sometimes feel confused or lost in the complications and complexities of life? Do you feel drained, listless, or exhausted from the daily burdens and responsibilities? Why not seek our campus ministers on air every Tuesday from 2 to 3 in the afternoon? Listen to our counselors from the Loyola School's Campus Ministry Office as they ground our lives in our faith, in our school's spiritual tradition. Campus Ministers on Air. Be guided, be inspired, be blessed. Listen to our Campus Ministers on Air.
Jesuit Music Ministry, music that uplifts the soul. Follow JustCom PH on Spotify and JustCom Music on YouTube. We are also on iTunes and Deezer.
To open our eyes and ears that we may see the face of Christ and hear His voice in our midst. For 28 years, Jesuit Communications has been promoting the Catholic faith and serving the nation through both traditional and new media. Hear us tackle national issues in light of Christian values on Usapang Kapatid, Pasakalye, and Radio Veritas. Watch our uplifting reflections on Kapet Pandasal and The Word Exposed, as well as our acclaimed TV specials. Listen to the inspiring and soothing music of Jesuit Music Ministry's original artists as you read our spiritually enriching books. To learn more about JustCom's mission of evangelization and education, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and our website, justcom.ph. To give a face to the faceless and a voice to the voiceless, that we may recognize Christ in them and hear His story in theirs.
Are you feeling sore? We can make that better. Tune in to the Ateneo Senior High School's first radio program, Soar, the Seniors On Air Radio. Don't change that channel yet, because Soar is ready to put the you in youth. Soar, Seniors On Air, here on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Radyo, 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 Radyo Katipunan. Radyo Katipunan. Radyo Katipunan. Radyo, 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 OFW Eagle kami, di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng eskwela. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugod, todo sa kayod, punong at tulong. Ipag-Blue Eagle, galing giting at tigil, blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Katipunan.
Coming up next, Nagtatanong Lang on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan. Sa Blue Eagle kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng eskwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugod, todo sa kayod, tulong at tulong. Lipat na Blue Eagle, galing giting nagigil, blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan.
Bakit ang mahal ng dilim?
Kailangan ba
Bakit
talaga
laging
magkabit?
traffic
Ano may freedom of speech?
Saan?
Marami tayong mga tanong.
Tayo laban sa
Bakit
fake
ganito?
news? Ba makaiwas
Bakit
ang
ganyan?
pag-asa pa bang
Mga tanong tungkol sa bayan at sa buhay.
Ano nga ba ang gawa?
May solusyon nga ba? Sino ang may
para
sagot?
kanino ba talaga ang gobyerno?
At sino ang magtatanong? Huwag mag-alala! We got you! Dahil dito, bawal ang dead air. Sa Nagtatanong Lang. Kasama si JR Santiago tuwing Huwebes ng gabi, makiusyoso, makidiskurso, at makialam. Dahil ang tamang tanong ay swak na solusyon. Nagtatanong Lang.
Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si JR Santiago and welcome to our fourth episode of Nagtatanong Lang. A new show here, Radyo Katipunan, kung saan magtatanong tayo ng tungkol sa iba't ibang issue. At sa pagtatanong natin, sana makakuha tayo ng mga sagot mula sa ating mga panahon. At sana samahan nyo rin kami sa pagtatanong at sama-sama tayong humanap ng mga sagot sa mga nagbabagang issue. Naniniwala kasi kami dito na kapag may tamang tanong, may swak na solusyon. Pero bago po tayo magsisimula, nais po namin pasalamat sa Radyo Katipunan para sa pagkakataong binigay nila sa amin dito sa Nagtatanong Lang para magkaroon tayo ng makabuluhang talakayan tungkol sa mga issue. At syempre maraming salamat din po sa Committed Broadcast or CBX Network para sa pagbuo ng ating show. Salamat din po sa mga nakinig at nanood sa aming first, second, and third episodes. We are very grateful and sana po samahan nyo kami sa susunod pang mga episodes. No? So, simulan na po natin ang pagtatanong ngayong gabi. Nagtatanong lang, nahihirapan ka bang i-manage ang oras mo everyday? mga panahon ba na feeling mo sa office ka na nakatira? Gusto mo bang mag-spend na more time kasama ang family mo? O di kaya, nagigilty ka ba kapag nagli-leave ka, no? Para magpahinga? At hinahanap mo ba ang work-life balance? Kayo ba? No? Anong definition nyo ng work-life balance? So if you have your own definition, please put it in the comment section or chat with us on Facebook. And we'll try to read your definitions, no? Huwag po tayo ding mahiya magtanong o mag-comment. And we look forward to hearing and seeing your comments, no, throughout the show. Okay, so alamin natin ang mga sagot sa mga tinanong ko, no? At matuto tayo ng mahalagang tips at payo mula sa ating mga panauhin at experts, no? In today's episode ng Nagtatanong Lang. So makakasama natin sa talakayan ngayon si Miss Chrissie Cobarrubias, isang advocate for work-life balance. Isa rin siyang marketing director sa Unilab, no? Handling beauty products. Maybe you can promote your products later. Let's see. We're happy you're here and excited kami to hear your story about your journey in finding work-life balance. So Chrissie, if you can, please say hello to our viewers and listeners.
Okay. Hi, hello, good evening po. It's so nice to be here.
Welcome. Okay, next naman po ay si Ginoong, no? Apa Alviar, or Coach Apa, as I would like to call him. Isa po siyang certified strengths coach. And he will help us he'll give us some tips on how to find work-life balance. And for me, I'm very interested to hear his personal story later and his insights on this topic, no? Magandang gabi, Coach Apa. Please say hello to our listeners.
Good evening and mabuhay sa lahat. Thank you.
So magandang gabi ulit, no? Chrissie and Coach Apa. Dalawa lang ang guest natin ngayon, so mas malalim ang ating usapan, no? And of course, again, magandang gabi sa ating mga taga-pakinig. We're very excited to learn a lot tonight. And now, no, pwede na tayong magsimula, no? Magtanong.
Parang serious, ha?
Serious. Parang wala na ilalabas na salamin. Okay. So, unahin natin
No, Your Honor.
Itanong natin si Chrissie. Una-una, no? Kasi we know you are a marketing director. And I know how demanding that role is, no? So, for you, no, how do you personally manage yung mga pressures given your very demanding job, but still prioritizing your personal time and well-being?
Kape. Maraming kape. Honestly po, I don't always get it right. Maraming times na work would kakain ng oras sa personal, and at the same time, the personal kakain ng oras sa work. But ang natutunan ko po over the years is it's not about splitting or dividing your day equally. It's more about being intentional with the choices that you make. So there are going to be days where work will demand more from you, and may mga araw na kailangan mo talaga magdesisyon na mag-overtime ako. Pero kapag ginawa mo yun, and you know that your time with your family, yung oras mo sa pamilya mo is mahalaga rin para sa'yo, then sa susunod na araw, you will make sure that you will find time para bawiin yung mga nawalang oras mo nung the night before or the week before. And once that you make that decision, you protect it fiercely na kapag kunwari nag-decision ka na mag-overtime ako, hindi ako mag-feel guilty knowing that babawiin ko yun the following week or the following day. I also realized na I'm not just a marketing practitioner. Hindi lang ako empleyado sa trabaho. Nanay din ako, kapatid ako, anak ako, asawa ako. And if I see those roles more as different parts of me rather than parang competing priorities, then parang mas less pressure para sa akin yun na I need to fulfill it right away. But parang, okay, sa moment na ito, empleyado ako, may kailangan akong gawin. Bukas, nanay ako at this moment. So, mas namamanage ko siya. Hindi nababawasan yung trabaho, hindi nababawasan yung demands, pero because I know na in this moment, kailangan kong maging nanay, kailangan kong maging asawa, madaling piliin yung mga bagay na gagawin mo at ipaprioritize mo in that moment. Yeah.
Wow, unang sagot pa lang. Tapos na, let's go home. May panalo na. May panalo na.
Pero hindi ganun yun all the time. I don't always get it right.
Ang ganda ng sagot kasi it made me shift my thinking na it's not really dividing time, but it's a decision on what you will prioritize. And then ang ganda rin yung sinabi mo na hindi siya competing priorities, but you just have to decide which one you will tackle. Wow, thank you for that. And I'm sure our audience learned a lot from that. Okay, sige, next question naman, no? Again, Chrissie, no? So kanina ba, you mentioned it's really making decisions. Pero practically, no? Ano yung mga strategies or systems, no? That you put in place within your team? Diba? Kasi I know you're handling a team, no? So I'm sure ba, advocate ka. So you practice it. With your team naman, how do you inspire them to also do the same?
Actually, it's a continuous learning and adjusting. Depende rin kasi sa mga priorities ng tao mo yan. So, iba-iba yung style per person. Kasi iba-iba rin sila ng priorities and life stage. But what I found helpful, at least on the practical side of policies, for example, or practices in the office, is having a... Nag-start to nung pandemic, nagkaroon kami ng parang Focus Friday. It's a day where you're allowed to do deep work without any meetings. That way, by the end of the week, you will feel accomplished and you will feel more ready to enjoy your weekend. Kasi if you have parang things to do looming in your mind, pagising mo ng Sabado, kinakabahan ka na mag-Monday. Right? Whereas if you were able to finish that on Friday, kahit paano mas magaan yung loob mo mag-weekend. And mas masaya. You can parang replenish your soul with activities na hindi mo iniisip yung trabaho. Although, I have to admit, medyo nawawala-wala na yun ngayon. Hindi na, kasi masyado, yan na, work comes, madami din talaga pong nangyayari. So, nagsischedule na rin talaga ng meetings. And so, the other thing that I saw that's effective is checking in with the team. It's basically parang a 1-hour meeting wherein people are just allowed to share things outside of work so that you get to know the person outside of the job title. Kasi ako po, personally, hindi ako naniniwala na you can really split yourself na may, ito ako as work person, ito ako as in the personal life. So, totoo lang, isang tao lang talaga tayo na dala-dala natin lahat ng experiences, lahat ng anxiety, lahat ng realities mo, no matter where you go. And as long as this person is able to share who they really are, and as long as you treat your colleagues as parang humans, tao ka rin, may mga worries ka rin. Somehow, it's not necessarily, again, it's not, hindi mo talaga na-divide yung araw mo kung ano yung oras pang work, ano yung pang personal life. Pero at least even at work, you feel supported. You feel that people trust you. So parang you build a culture na, hindi, lahat tayo dito tao. Lahat tayo dito may ibang kailangan gawin sa buhay na hindi lang to puro trabaho. So at least that also helps.
Well, that's very admirable, no, as a leader, no. Like with me, with the teams I manage, meron kaming ganyan yung 1 hour kumustahan lang Monday morning. Yeah. What happened during weekend? Yeah. Kumusta ka? Yeah. Anong may problema ka, makakatulong
exactly.
ba kami? So you're able to create a safe environment where they can just vent or tell you how they're feeling, and they know that they are listened to and they are seen.
Yeah.
Nice.
Exactly.
Okay, speaking of that, lalo na your company, mention na natin, Unilab. My last question for you for this round, kasi diba it's known, my wife used to work for Unilab as well. I know a lot of people who work there, and what I hear is that there's a focus on employee well-being. So can you tell us a little bit, how does the company encourage work-life balance, especially those in your position?
I'm very, very proud. I've been in Unilab for 10 years. It's the longest company that I've worked in. And feeling ko, masaya maging part ng Unilab. Nag-promote. So, sama na. Pero, kasi po yung values ng Unilab, I think it's true to what they do. So, ang values ng Unilab ay husay at malasakit. Excellence and care. So, I think yung malasakit, ingrained na yun sa kultura ng Unilab. And so, one example is how we manage our leaves as a company. Meron kaming leaves na buong kumpanya sabay-sabay yun gagawin. So for example, Holy Week and Christmas, we're all together kami magbabakasyon. The company shuts down and sabay-sabay kami ng bakasyon. So there's a point talaga na may break ka talaga, Holy Week and Christmas. And dahil sabay-sabay kayong nakabakasyon because the company is shut down, wala ka rin masyadong naiisip na trabaho while you're on Holy Week break, while you're on Christmas vacation. So that helps. But other than that, I think one of the things that I value, yung sobrang binavalue ko po talaga sa Unilab is how they let their leaders and their people manage their own time. Kasi parang they're focused on results, not necessarily the time that you spend in the office. Although sa Unilab naman parang may required pa rin na araw na you have to be in the office and there are days that you can work from home. Pero you're not monitored by the hour, you're not monitored by the minute, and instead you're evaluated based on your output. And because of that, the employee, the leader, and the mga contributors are parang they're free to use whatever time they have, as long as you're productive. So I think that's very helpful also.
Wow, no. It's nice to hear that there are companies who actually support, their employees on how to have a balanced life. And ang ganda ng excellence and care, So sana all. Okay. All right, so thank you, Chrissie, for those answers. No, I'll get back to you. Now let's go to Coach Apa. My first question is, you've worked with many people, individuals, identifying their strengths. How does knowing your strength contribute to achieving work-life balance? I mean, and how can someone leverage their strengths to make that balance easier?
Okay, malalim na tanong yan, JR. Unang-una, ang comment ko is, there's really no such thing as work-life balance. We can't aspire for a work-life balance kasi we'll always fall short. Isipin na lang natin, another way of looking at it is work-life integration. So tama si Chrissie, hindi tayo isang tao na hiwa-hiwalay ang role sa buhay. Isang tao lang tayo. Nagkataon na ako tatay, ako asawa, ako anak, ako yung nagtatrabaho din, ako yung coach. So back to your question, how do we then help people achieve that integration? Tinutulungan natin silang pakinggan yung sarili nila. Importanteng pinapakinggan natin yung sarili natin. Ang mga strengths natin, iba-ibang boses yan na naririnig natin. And iba yung mga boses na sa strengths ko, iba kay Chrissie, iba din yung sayo. Magkakaiba tayong lahat ng mga strengths. So iba-ibang voices yung napapakinggan natin sa minds natin. And when you start listening to the voice in your head, to the voice of your heart, then you know what is integration for you. There's no one integration that fits everyone. It's really individualized.
So, if you know those voices and strengths, so how do you use that to find that integration?
Right. Number one, the voices will tell you what your heart wants. By knowing your strengths, you know what your heart aspires for. So alam mo na ngayon ano i-prioritize mo. In 168 hours in the week, ilang hours ang i-allocate mo for the most important things in your life. And that should address the biggest talents, the biggest strengths that you have. And then all of these strengths also have requirements. Para siyang nauso plantito, plantita. Bawat tanim pala, iba yung degree of sunlight, iba yung degree of fertilizer na kailangan niya, iba yung amount of water. Yung strengths natin, iba-iba din yung kailangan na nutrients from our environment. So when you know what your strengths are, you will know what kind of environment you can create. So hindi lang ikaw mag-aantay na yung environment mo magbago, kundi ikaw mismo, you'll have proactive steps to make your environment closer to the life that you want. And that's a journey. That's why it's called a journey towards your best version.
I love that answer kasi empowering siya. Hindi mo lang as you said, hindi mo hintay yung condition na gusto mo, but you actually work for it and you listen to the voice, to your heart, your desires, and then you work towards that. No, very good answer. I really love that. No? So in your experience naman, di ba? Kasi we talked about, it's not really work-life balance, but work-life integration. So how do we how do we tell people na it's really integration? What do you think they should hear?
Okay, number one, so there are three things. Okay, first they have to go through disruptions. Importante na hindi ka lang gigising sa umaga tapos sabihin mo, okay na ako. Na-integrate ko na yung buhay ko. Kailangan mo pa rin pagdaanan ng disruption. May mga disruptions na nangyayari. Pwedeng disruption sa health mo. Pwedeng disruption sa wallet. Dahil naubusan ka na ng pera. Pwedeng disruption sa relationship dahil brinake ka ng ex mo. And may mga disruptions ka kailangan pagdaanan. That's the first thing. No? Pangalawa, after you go through a disruption and you can choose whether you will just be a victim or you will be the victor. So you can disrupt rather than wait to be disrupted. Now, taking control of that, you can move to the second thing. And I recommend people look at discoveries. So, pagka may discovery ka kasi, madidiscover mo ngayon more about yourself, no? Again, listening to yourself. But you also discover things around you. Mga kaibigan mo, mga kaopisina mo, mga instructor mo. Try to figure out what you can learn in the environment that you did not know yesterday. So, that's the second step. The third is when you go through your defining moments. And every day you can have a defining moment that addresses any of the things that your heart is saying. Alam mo, today, gusto kong mag-exercise, 10 jumping jack. That's a defining moment. Or sabi mo, today, I want to walk 10,000 steps. That is a defining moment. So when you know what defining moment you're chasing after, then you can have that goal for the day and you can use all your power to achieve that. And it's really reasonable, JR. Kaya mong gawin yun. Make it small, bite-size, have somebody help you out, and you'll get there.
Nice, no? I mean, you can start small and then just move yourself up to your bigger dreams and your bigger desire. I really like the discussion, no? Kasi now it's really empowering, no? Making decisions and then listening and then doing what your heart desires. Pero my last question for you for this round is, di ba you mentioned, no? Listen to the voice. So what do you tell naman people who are having a hard time na hanapin yung boses na yon, tapos nahihirapan sila mag-integrate? So what advice can you give them?
Perfect time, because earlier today I attended naman a workshop. So I listened to my strengths coach, Coach Pia, who's also a Jesuit, no? She talks about the different wavelengths in your brain. And apparently may brain frequency na naka-zero in on what should I do. So parang very active yung brain na yun. Ang dami mong iniisip na gagawin. And many of us are in that zone. What am I supposed to do? Gising mo pa lang ng umaga, no? Bukas ka na ng cellphone. Isipin mo na anong meeting ko today. Diba? Habang nagbe-breakfast ka, binabantayan mo na yung anak mo, ina-anticipate mo na yung next step. Gumaganan yung utak mo. As a coach, we help bring them to a level of frequency where they're actually calmer. Meditation, breathing. This is when the leaders are actually able to help other people grow. Because you're not in that zone of you're in a zone lower. You're in a zone that will allow people to say, oh nga no, what's the big picture for me? What is my bigger goal? What does my heart tell me? So babalik ka talaga dun sa frequency niya. Without, reaching that level, lagi ka lang aligaga. Lagi ka lang busy. And you're busy doing stuff, but you're not a human doing. You're a human being. So you have to be. You have to be. Instead of focus on what you need to do.
Wow, parte na ako ng free coaching today, no?
Listening, I'm
yeah.
taking notes.
What I really like about that is yung sa frequency, no? Kasi tama. Pagising mo pala ng umaga, check cellphone, inisip mo na 1,000 thoughts attacking you at the same. And then sometimes you just have to stop, breathe, and say, what's the bigger picture? And again, no, as leaders, no, I think it's our role to be the calm ones and to show others as well na it is possible to be at a frequency na, wait, no, hindi tayo kailangan, we are not human doings, but we can just be, no? Okay, we have a question, no? Before I go back to you, Chrissie. So yung concept ng disruption, no, sounds actually good. But how do you not let it take over or get the best of you? Kasi sometimes disruption, like losing a job, losing someone. No? How do you not, parang, di ba dati dapat, pagdaanan mo lang, wag mo tambayan. So how can we do that?
Right. speaking from experience, kasi there was a time in my career when I was earning a huge amount. I was working in a multinational company. And then all of a sudden, you get a letter saying, "Thank you, Apa, we love you, but we have to let you go." So I was redundated. And that was the time na parang kabibili lang namin ng bahay, ng kotse. Tapos hindi ko alam kung anong pambayad ko, numeral ko. Di ba? Tapos kapapanganak ng misis ko dun sa third baby namin. So 2 in the morning, happy time yan. Pero 2 in the morning, no, gigising ka, magpapalit ka ng diaper, tapos hindi mo alam kung anong pambili mo ng gatas niya. Buti na lang, breastfeeding din yung wife ko. And within a few months, my father passed away.
Wow.
So these are disruptions. And so how do you not get trapped into it? There's something called exuberance. Okay? Hindi ko alam kung anong translation niya sa Tagalog, no? Sabi na nanay ko, ano siya eh, it's not just joy, it's extreme joy. My mom's Bisaya. She says it's sobra-sobra. Sobra-sobra kang joyful. Ang exuberance pala, when you're joyful to that level, it's not a feeling anymore. It's a mindset.
Okay.
So when you experience disruptions, even the worst case of disruptions, your world can be upside down, but you can still appreciate it because of the mindset of exuberance. Sobra-sobra.
So does that mean finding joy in little things or in little
Purposefully finding. It's not just like walking in the park and seeing a butterfly and you're joyful. No. It's actually really looking at the disruption in your face and say, thank you. Like I have some clients who say, thank you, I have cancer. Because I can finally fix my life. I can reach out to my daughter who I haven't spoken to in so many years. So thank you for this cancer.
Wow.
It's that mindset, JR.
And then, well, the goal is and the hope is eventually you get out of that.
Yes.
And then, but with a better mindset and attitude.
Again, you go through the disruption, you look at discovering things about yourself and your environment and lead yourself purposefully towards a defining moment.
Wow.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I mean, I'm just listening to Coach and I'm parang nagpa-playback yung mga nangyari sa buhay ko and how malapit na po. Nagpa-playback. And just recently, I gave birth. I'm a first-time mom. And before becoming a mom, I've always focused on my career. So giving birth was very disruptive. I never looked at it that way, but now that you mentioned it, was very disruptive, and it really paved the way to change my mindset about how I, quote-unquote, balance my life. Because I think after giving birth, I really struggled na parang, okay, puyat ako, but I have an 8 a.m. meeting. How do I manage this? And then it's 5 p.m. I have 98 unread emails, but I need to go home because my daughter is waiting for me. And I really struggled. But it got to a point na, wala eh. You have to be both. So what do you do? And that's when the mindset of, okay, then I need to be intentional with the choices that, okay, today I will stay at work and not feel guilty, but tomorrow I will stay longer at home and not feel guilty. It's the disruption. Ang galing, Coach. Totoo nga, yun nag-trigger nun.
Nagsisynthesis na kami. Napansin mo. We're doing your job. We're doing your job.
Pero thank you for that comment. No? And for our listeners and viewers, no, if you want to share a story or give a comment, please do so on our Facebook chat. Speaking of which, no, you touched on motherhood. My next question for you is, sa experience mo, no, what's the biggest challenge for women and mothers, I would imagine, when trying to get to work-life integration, and then what advice do you want to give to those who are struggling a bit?
Very, very close to my heart kasi very fresh. And up to now, I'm in that learning and adjusting phase as things go along. I think the biggest challenge for women, especially mothers, and I guess most especially new mothers, is the expectation that you have to excel at everything all at once. And sa totoo lang, that can be very daunting because it really feels impossible to show up at your 100% all the time at each role of your life. Yun nga, parang my classic example is, puyat ako, 2 a.m., nagpatulog ako ng bata, pero may 8 a.m. meeting ako. And still, at work, you expect yourself na maalala mo lahat ng mga sinasabi sa'yo ng mga tao, that you can answer right away and that you can guide your team. O kaya, there was a point na I was also, being a first-time mom, I was so emotional. Siguro, postpartum depression. I was so emotional, but at the same time, pagdating mo sa trabaho, people would come to you with their own emotions. And as a leader, you have to take it in and process it with them because you're supposed to be the calmer one. So, and it could be very difficult when you expect yourself to be good, excel at all of the things, all of your roles at the same time. So I think the qualifier there is at the same time. But if you're intentional with your choices, that, okay, today I will show up at work as 100% present and I will exert all of my energy here, then mamamanage mo siya. And then, if kunwari naman mas maraming demand yung sa bahay, then you give yourself grace to about how you show up at work kinabukasan, na parang, okay, siguro hindi ako masyadong magiging as active, or hindi naman sa hindi active, but rather parang hindi ka talaga 120%, right? So I think that's one of the biggest challenge. And my advice is to just let that go. Let go of that expectation to be perfect and to be good at everything that you do. It's okay. It's okay to be good today, but tomorrow you're not as good. It's fine. Because you spent that energy at home. Because that day or that particular moment, you chose to be a really good mom. You chose to be home to, paliguan mo yung anak mo. You did not choose to stay in the office longer. So that's okay. Parang each day, you get to be your best version of yourself in that particular moment. And let that go. My second advice is ask for help. Because as a mom, as a woman, in as much as we'd like to say that we can do it alone, I mean, ako rin naman, I was a strong, independent woman. Ayan yung sabi sa akin. But you ask for help. You cannot do it alone. Ask for help from your husband, your parents, your colleagues, and you'd be surprised about the kind of help and the sincerity around that help that will be given to you. And parang, actually nagulat ako nung naging mom ako. Suddenly, yung mga moms sa office ko, parang nagkaroon ng new light. Na kilala ko sila as colleagues, but when I became a mom, parang, ito, Chrissie, ito gawin mo sa ito, binilan kita ng libro para sa baby mo, ito, binilan kita ng, and ikaw parang, in as much as you wanna say na, bakit tingin nyo ba hindi ko binibilan ng libro yung anak ko? Parang, oh sige, thank you. At least di ko na siya kailangan bilhin. So, ask for help. I think that's another advice. So, the two advices, let go of the expectation to be perfect all the time and always ask for help. Yeah.
I really like that kasi lalo yung first response mo na, you do your best every day to be where you are. And for me, that's actually good enough. No? That's asking someone to do their best is the most you can ask from someone. And when you do your best, you are good enough. And it doesn't make you less of a mother or less of a professional.
Exactly.
If you're not unable to give 100% all the time, maybe 40% today, tomorrow 60%, 80%. Very good. And then, to your second point now, which I really love, is ask for help. Like you said, your company culture actually provides a good support system. Your colleagues, diba? You see parents now in a different light. Yes. No? And again, asking for help does not make you less of a person or less of a mom. And you'll be surprised at how willing people are.
Precisely.
With my dad group, I'm surprised at how talkative dads can be when you ask for help. No? So thank you for that. And then siguro my next question now, for napag-usapan natin yung sa company culture niya. Do you think that plays a big role, yung kultura mo sa company, on how you can find work-life integration? And, what can businesses do to create that kind of environment?
Yeah, culture is everything. Kasi it's how people, if kunwari, there's a culture that rewards overtime, or a culture that rewards, just simply spending time in the office, then people, that will lead to burnout, because that's not what really matters. I think if a culture encourages people to be whole, and it's a culture that understands that you're not just an employee, you're not just a machine. It's a culture that understands na tao ka rin, may mga kailangan ka rin gawin. Then mas madaling magbigay ng extra sa trabaho kung kailangan ka na. So I think what businesses can do is to, I think first and foremost, to really just see the person as a person. And that really understand na this person does not have two selves. This person is one person. And as long as this person is able to integrate, I think I really like that word, Coach, yung parang able to integrate work and life together, and that life can parang flow through work. Pwede pag-usapan natin yung trabaho mo. Kailangan ka sa ospital, o sige, diyan ka na magtrabaho. Diba, work from home ka na kasi wala namang difference kung nasa office ka o kaya nasa ospital ka, nagbabantay ka ng tatay mo. Then I think that will really help the employee feel supported. I think at the end of the day, culture needs to breed support and trust. And however the companies want to shape that, whether that's extra work from home day or whether that's or something else, kanya-kanyang style. At the end of the day, it should breed support and trust. Yeah.
Nice. And I hope company owners are listening.
Pero Unilab pa rin, diba?
Yes. Okay, we have some questions. I'll move on to Coach again. Coach, merong question. Many singles are also breadwinners. Is integration possible if they have to press pause on their own dreams because they have responsibilities to their families?
Right. Good question. Hindi po yan isolated sa mga taong single na may mga anak. Lahat po tayo, at a certain point, naiisip natin, maybe I should pause this because I want to pursue this. And dito papasok ngayon yung urgent at saka important. Hindi kailangan i-pause ang isa over another. Kasi pwede mong ipagsabay sa isang araw mo, you have 168 hours in a week. You have how many hours in a day? You can always tell yourself, for the urgent thing, like my child needing the medicine today, then I will do that. But I can also decide that for my dream of finishing college, then I will allocate also 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be an enrollment. It can be reading a book. So as long as you know what your priorities are, and these are both short-term and long-term, it's purposefully saying, today I will do this, this, and this. And it will address not just the firefighting that you're experiencing on a day-to-day thing, but you're also doing it in preparation for a future goal that you have.
Nice. No, parang, you just have to set the time. For
Yes.
instead manood ka ng TikTok ng 3 oras, 2 oras magbasa ka ng libro or go to an online university.
Yep.
Diba? Good. Now I have a question for the both of you. Kasi alam ko lahat tayo naging ganito. Like ako naging workaholic din ako before. I would work 18 hours a day. And then I realized that the only people who will remember I worked overtime is my family. They will know that I was not there in the... So I have a question. Ako kasi I realized that na. Family first. No? But for you, paano ba maghanap ng work-life integration ang mga workaholic? Lalo na yung mga proud to be workaholics.
As a self-confessed workaholic.
Yung mga self-confessed tayo lahat.
Self-confessed workaholic. I think you need to approach work-life integration not just as a matter of time management. It's going to be really difficult if you only approach work-life balance, work-life integration as a time management skill. I think ultimately it needs to be also, you need to manage, instead of time, you need to manage your energy and your mental well-being. So it depends kasi kung anong oras yung gusto mong i-google sa trabaho. As long as you're still energized, I think it's okay. As long as it doesn't deplete you, it doesn't deplete your mind, it doesn't deplete your energy, physical energy to show up properly when you get home, then I think it's okay. Parang I don't want to shame people who need to stay longer in the office. Sometimes we all have to do what we gotta do. Yung iba nagtatrabaho ng mas matagal because gusto nilang ma-promote. Yung iba nagtatrabaho mas matagal kasi kailangan, they have to put in the hours para makuha nila yung overtime pay, ganyan. So everyone has their own reasons kung bakit sila, why they spend more time in the office. And my advice there is, don't approach work-life balance as a time management skill. Isipin mo, as long as may energy ka pa to show up properly pag uwi mo sa bahay, or that may energy ka pa para kausapin yung asawa mo, mabigyan mo siya ng proper attention, then I think that's okay. That's okay. Yeah.
Good advice. Coach?
Sa akin, isipin natin ang difference na meron kang iniiwasan versus meron kang pinupuntahan. Kasi sa buhay, as a coach, no, when I coach clients from anywhere in the world, they'll always say, I want to lose weight. May iniiwasan sila. I don't want to be late anymore. But ask them, what are you chasing after? I want a healthier heart. I want a nicer relationship with my spouse. So what is that you are chasing after? Instead of what are you trying to avoid? So that's the first thing, no? Ask yourself, what's really, ano yung kumakalabit sa puso mo? And chase after that. Don't just avoid trying to be the mistake. That's one. Second is, declare what your goal is going to be. Declare what December 2025 is going to look like. And that's when you say it's an integration of, number one, I will get that promotion. Number two, I'm going to bring my wife to Bangkok, for example. Number three, I will have a clean bill of health in my next annual physical exam. See, so when you start identifying what is life, what is success for you, then you know paano ka papasa sa finals. Kasi alam mo na kung paano magkaroon ng grade. So simulan mo. Start with that. Start with how do you want to measure your life at the end of the year. And then the things that you do now would be a yes towards that goal. Anything against that is a no. And that's gonna be 2 hours of useless watching TikToks.
Ganda, no? For me, it's similar to finding your why. No? When you know your why, the what's become easier. Because everything you do will now be in furtherance of your why. And anything that's not supporting that why, you can say no to. Yes. And frees up your time to do the things that you like and that you love.
And sorry, just to add to that, no, because you're now aware of how your why, your big why, you can start being smart. Kung gusto ko yung, kasi my kids are homeschooled, right? So kung alam ko yung lessons nila for the week, alam ko yung goals nila, learning goals nila for the week, pwede pala akong mag-grocery kasama sila at natuturuan ko ng whole numbers yung bunso namin, natuturuan ko ng fractions yung pangalawa, natuturuan ko ng mas complicated math yung panganay while I'm spending time with them at the groceries.
On top of that, natututo sila mag-budget. Really nice.
Sana matuto sila.
That's the hope of us parents, no? Okay, siguro coach, no, I have a personal question, no? Kasi I know that you had a recent medical condition. And I understand, no, I'm sure it has given you new insights on how to integrate, no? Can you tell us about it then? Ano yung mga learnings mo na gusto mong i-share? Sa mga
Hindi po ako nanganak, ha, just in case iniisip niyo ano yung medical condition. I had a heart attack last November and I have 6 stents. What did I learn? Disruption pa rin talaga, JR. Hindi mo pwedeng iwasan. Hindi ka pwedeng mandedma. You have to be aware of the signs. In your life, madaling sabihin, pag tinanong ka, how are you? Ano yung sagot ng mga tao?
I'm good.
I'm good. Okay lang.
Okay.
When you find yourself answering that, then that means there's something wrong.
Wow.
So
Okay.
find what is wrong. Find what is wrong. Because when, in September, October, when people would ask me, how are you? I'd say, I'm fine. Yung pala, kulang na pala yung tulog ko. Yung pala, ang dami-dami ko na palang ginagawa that my heart couldn't take it. And then one morning, I just had the heart attack. But I refused to think because I felt I'm fine. So the lesson, JR, is when you find yourself saying, I'm fine, think again. Reevaluate. Reevaluate all your... And that's not just physical, ha? It's also financial. It's also your relationship with your spouse. It's also your community. Mag-e-election na po. Kasama din yan. When you say, kamusta ka bilang Pilipino? Pag sinabi mo, okay naman kami sa Pilipinas, then think again.
Yeah.
There's something you can do about the trash in your village. When you find yourself saying, I'm okay, yan yung warning.
Grabe, Chrissie, no? Parang kina-question ko na ngayon ang buong buhay ko. No? Parang, pati yung sagot na I'm okay, I'm
okay.
fine. Yeah, I can relate to that because I'm now a very busy person. Ang daming ginagawa. And, lack of sleep. And kasi you feel like you have to be or say yes to everything, every opportunity that comes, but you have to. Okay, thank you for that. Grabe, nalilinsad ako ngayong gabi. Okay, so gusto lang namin kausapin yung mga audience natin. No? So again, if you have any comments or any questions, please feel free to put it in the comment section of our Facebook, and then we'll try to answer. And if you have questions for our guests, we'll definitely forward to them, and then they will answer. Okay, Coach, thank you for sharing that story. Ako, ang dami ko natutunan dun sa, now I will have to reevaluate my I'm okay or I'm good. Maybe I can say I'm exhausted. Yeah, I'm tired. Okay, so now we go back muna to your clients. No? I'm gonna first start. Kasi di ba, work-life integration looks different for different people. No? So how do you help your clients find their own tailor-fit version of work-life integration?
Right. So we mentioned earlier na magkakaiba tayo lahat ng talents, meaning magkakaiba tayo ng strengths. Si JR saying, nahihirapan siya mag-say no. And that can be a talent called responsibility. So do you have responsibility in your top 5? Okay. If you don't remember.
I'm not so sure, but right. I think so, yeah.
Because if you have a talent called responsibility, you will find it hard to say no. So how do I personalize an approach to a client? For them to understand what their strengths are, meron kasi yan kaakibat na ugly sister. Ang bawat strength mo pala is also possibly your biggest weakness.
Okay.
So if you want a work-life integration, ask yourself, ano sa'yo ang humahadlang na makamit mo yon? Because it lies in your top 5 talents. So alamin mo, anong hadlang mo, napapaisip ka, no? And then, isipin mo rin, alin dito sa 5 ang nakakatulong sa akin?
Okay.
Kasi yung paghadlang at pagtulong, nasa sayo na yan. Ginawa ka na ng Panginoon, nung sinapupunan ka pa ng nanay mo, He breathed life into you and He gave you those talents. So yan ang puhunan mo ngayon to have work-life integration in the future.
Grabe si Coach, no? I mean, ang dami ng wisdom, ang soothing pa ng pagsabi. Parang feeling ko zen na zen ako.
Tapos blue pa yung buhok.
Yeah. Parang full of wisdom, no? Sige, quick question for the both of you. We're talking about mga hadlang, no? Is social media hadlang ba yan, or does it help? Does it help with work-life integration? What do you think?
Both.
Yeah, both.
Why do you think so?
Kasi 'di ba, ako believer ako na work-life integration is all about not just time management but also how you use your energy. So social media sometimes kapag kunwari medyo nawiwindang ka na sa trabaho, it's a good break. It's a good way to refresh your mind. It's a good way to keep in touch with your family, with your friends. Ano na ba nangyayari sa mga baby ng mga kaibigan ko? It's a good way to, parang pause. But once I start seeing content that's already draining my energy, that's depleting my energy to the point that I cannot show up properly to real life, wherever that real life needs me, whether I'm at work or at home, then I turn it off. of course, I don't say that I'm always, na hindi ako nagdo-doom scroll. That happens. And it's a choice that I make because parang, okay, for this moment, I'm intentionally choosing to doom scroll. I need it. Narinig niyo ba yung revenge scrolling? When you get so busy in the day that you don't have the time to check your social media. So magpupuyat ka para gumante. Sometimes I intentionally choose to stay up late and catch up. But then, yun nga, once it starts draining your energy, that it hinders you from showing up properly, then you have to stop.
So I agree with Chrissie. It's both. I'm coming from the perspective of, again, your talents. Your talents need to be fed. So may mga talents like, kunyari, relator, very important sa kanila yung close relationships. So social media is sometimes the only way you can connect to a family member in Vienna. So you have to be there because it feeds your soul. But I agree, if it's already... Have you seen somebody walking their dog in the park?
Yeah.
Have you seen a dog walking their human?
Yung mabilis yung
It
dog,
happens, di ba?
Yeah.
That the dog leads the human. Ganun din po tayo with our talents. So, yung talents natin, yung strengths natin, pag masyado nang nasabik, tas hindi na naggumana yung utak mo, hindi ka na bumalik dun sa brain waves na nag-iisip ka, it's your strengths that's leading your life. That's an example of doom scrolling. So that becomes dangerous kasi it doesn't add value anymore.
Wow, thank you. No, very helpful. We have some questions online. Pero first, we'd like to thank yung una nagtanong kanina, yung paano mabalance ang work-life integration, pag-workaholic ka. That came from Jeremy Gardon Baluyot. Now we have a question from Jennifer Chua. I think most of the time we say we are okay because we are some sort of busy with our life. The more free time you have to think and evaluate, that's the time you realize that everything is not okay pala.
Yep.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing. That's real, and we need to pause and ask ourselves. Allow yourself to just go through that conversation with yourself. Na what's causing my trouble? At the end of the day, pag higa mo sa kama, syempre nakapatay na yung cellphone mo, isipin mo lang, reflect lang on the day and ask yourself, ano yung nagustuhan ko sa araw na to? At pag naulit to, ano kaya yung babaguhin ko? And you'll notice, mas madaling ma-resolve yan pagka little by little mo lang siyang inaayos. Hindi mo magagawa yan overnight. Yeah. So, no one can do that overnight.
Ang ganda, no? Kasi parang inisip mo minsan, kailangan ko ng solusyonan ngayon. But as you're saying, harapin mo pa unti-unti and then eventually, you'll get it. Wow. Okay, time check. Wow, it's already 7:51. We have about 9 minutes left now. And I want to devote the last few minutes on a dear topic from me, which is parenting. Because I'm an advocate for involved parenting, especially for dads. No? It's so good we have a mom perspective and a father perspective. Kasi diba, as parents and professionals at the same time, how do you navigate that? How do you still achieve, diba, being a parent is a demanding, sometimes 24/7 job. No? I like that. But are there specific things struggling parents can do now from what you have learned from your experience that can help them integrate better? Chrissie, being a new mom, may mga natutunan ka na?
Opo, madami na. 10 months na ako nag-aaral niyan. 10 months na yung baby ko.
The first year.
I think, where do I even begin? I think when you're trying to achieve work-life integration, it's all about flexibility, but also knowing your non-negotiables. So I think first and foremost, you need to know what your values are, what truly, truly matters to you. And you allow yourself flexibility dun sa what matters to you in that particular moment. Kasi naman, once you become a parent, it's so hard also to say that I'm just going to be a parent. Although some parents do decide that. But there are some parents, like me, who still need to go to work. So it's knowing what your priorities are, knowing what your values are, but also allowing yourself flexibility na, okay, for this moment, I need to be this, I need to be that. So it's really all about the intentional choices. I always go back to intentional choices and not feeling guilty about the choice that you made in that particular moment. And I keep saying na at that particular moment, because you cannot dictate who you get to be forever. Right? So parang when you say work-life integration or work-life balance, it's not an everyday thing, but rather an overtime. Ang goal mo is to be able to allot time to things that matter to you, whether that's 50-50, 60-40, 70-30. Over time, hindi kailangan naman na within this day, kailangan divide-split na natin yan. So kanya-kanyang paraan yan ng paano ka babawi doon sa mga roles na kailangan mong ma-achieve. So, I remember when I was the first time, the first few months of being back to work, it was so hard. Umiiyak ako sa asawa ko. Sabi ko, ang bobo-bobo na wala akong maintindihan sa trabaho. Ang bagal-bagal ko mag-isip because of the anesthesia. But at the same time, my daughter demands so much of me. So how do you show up? How do you show up? It's important to give yourself grace. Na, okay, maybe I'm not going to be the marketing practitioner that I was before giving birth, and I will give myself time, maybe until next year, to get back and find my footing and get back on track. And at the same time, I'm not going to be the perfect mom na palagi akong gising pag gustong mag-breastfeed ng baby ko. I will need to sleep, and that's good, and that's okay. Yeah.
Siguro ko ibang tanong na lang, no? Kasi yeah, knowing you have more experience, no? Your parents are, your kids are, how old are your kids now?
16, 14, and 12.
Okay, so different ages, no? As a parent, no? How do you model to your kids that is, that they should also work for work-life integration?
I recognize that while there is a desire to model, I can never ever be that model for them. It's that recognition that they are their unique human being. And while I try to model, I'm modeling based on my strengths. And so I will be the perfect version of me. But that's not going to be who they are.
Yeah.
My number 1 talent is my eldest son's number 34 talent. So if I model being the activator, he'll feel that he's a failure.
Yeah.
So I want my children to see that they can have work-life integration, or in their case, school-life integration, by discovering who they are, what makes them happy, what excites them, where do they grow the most in, what are the activities that time stands still for them. I want them to discover that. And if I can help them find that, then the modeling is not the end goal, it is modeling the process.
Yeah.
And, I'm still a failure. I'm still a work in progress.
All of us are.
All of us are.
I really like that answer because it's, as parents, we really cannot teach our kids what to think, but we can teach them how. Right? Sige. Given the time now, I guess one last question for the both of you. Quickly siguro. Kasi before we are parents, we are individuals. Diba? And, we have our own needs and, desires as well as, dreams. No? In this day na sobrang busy tayo, daming demands and all, how can someone maintain personal space and mental well-being amidst being a mother, being a marketing director? So just give tips to people. How do you take care of yourself so that you can have more space for integration?
I'll start. Yeah. Simply put, babalik tayo dun sa ano ba yung pananaw mo na what is success for you. Nobody else can tell you what success looks like. So find out what that is and track your progress. Don't be afraid to... It's not about perfection. It's about progress. So pag nag-pause ka, pagka hindi maganda yung kabilisan yung progress mo, okay lang. At least you recognize that. And allowing yourself to rise, get up, and try is worth much more than just feeling I can't do it. So, tuloy lang ang laban, JR. Everybody, habang may buhay, may pag-asa.
Yeah, so laban lang. Padayon,
laban lang.
Padayon. So, I really like that kasi it's, it does that you can take a break, you can rest, you can pause. take care of yourself. Okay. How about you, Chrissie?
Oh,
Final advice.
that's precisely what I wanted to say. Is that you have to remember that rest isn't a luxury. You really need to take time to rest. It's part of the process, and you can show up better when you give yourself time to rest. And it's listening to yourself. I like what Coach said earlier. Na parang you always have to listen yourself because you know what your body and what your mind needs. And once it signals that you need to rest, then forget everything else. Ikaw muna. I need to recuperate. And after that, bukas, usap tayo. Yan, yung asawa ko, may mga times na tinutulugan ko talaga siya. Umiiyak yung baby ko, but kailangan ko ng matulog. And so, siya na yung pick up. And then, gigising ako in the middle of the night. Okay na. Game. So, I think it's the importance na you have to remember, rest is not a luxury.
Wow. Alam mo, napakaganda ng discussion natin. No? And my biggest takeaway today is you don't always have to run. You can take a rest, and then you decide based on what your heart tells you, and then you're on your way. Wow, thank you. Again, napakaganda ng usapan natin. Gusto ko pang ituloy, pero hanggang dito na lang po tayo. Pero first, gusto po namin pasalamat sa ating mga guests today. Maraming salamat, Chrissie and Coach Apa. I am sure, like me, ang daming natutunan ng mga nakinig today, and each one of you gave very good insights. Ang laki nung naiambag sa usapan. And I'm sure mga nakinig marami ding natutunan. At syempre, maraming salamat po sa nakinig sa atin in this last hour. And I hope in the next few episodes, sasamahan niyo pa rin kami as we discuss and answer all these questions. So, as we have learned today, work-life balance isn't about achieving perfection. It's about being intentional with our time, setting boundaries, and prioritizing what truly matters. Whether it's leveraging our strengths, creating a supportive work environment, or ensuring that family time remains sacred. Balance is something we actively create, or integration, not just something we find. It's not something we win, it's something we live. So, Hillary Clinton once said, don't confuse having a career with having a life. It's a powerful reminder that while our work is important, it is very important, but it should never come at the cost of our well-being, our relationships, and our inner peace. And as Matthew 11 verse 28 tells us, when you're so tired of all, He says, come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. So in the midst of our busy lives, let's not forget to pause, to breathe, and rest. Because real success isn't just about what we can achieve at work, but also about the joy and fulfillment we cultivate in our everyday lives. So thank you for joining us on this episode of Nagtatanong Lang. Until next time, keep asking, keep learning, and keep striving for a life that truly fulfills you. Muli maraming salamat po sa Radyo Katipunan at sa CBX Network para sa pagbibigay sa amin ng pagkakataong magkaroon ng platform para sa mga mahalagang usaping tulad nito. Muli ako po si JR Santiago. Bumabati ng isang magandang gabi. Sana po ay samahan niyo pa rin kami sa pagtatanong, sa paghahanap ng sagot at swak na solusyon sa mga susunod pa nating episode. See you po next Thursday. Magandang gabi po at maraming pong salamat.
Bakit ang mahal ng bilihin?
Kailangan ba
Bakit
talaga
laging
hindi
traffic
naman may freedom of
kahit
speech?
saan?
Marami tayong mga tanong.
Tayo laban sa
Bakit
fake
ganito?
news?
Bakit ganyan? Mga tanong tungkol sa bayan at sa buhay.
Sino nga ba ang gawang kabataan?
May solusyon nga ba? Sino ang may
Para
sagot?
kanino ba talaga ang gobyerno?
At sino ang magtatanong? Huwag mag-alala. We got you! Dahil dito, bawal ang dead air. Sa Nagtatanong Lang. Kasama si JR Santiago, isang guro, public speaker at dating public servant na walang takot na magtatanong para sa mga sagot na dapat nating malaman sa tulong ng ating mga eksperto, leader at tayong mga mamamayan. Kasagutang para sa atin at para sa bayan. Nagtatanong Lang, ang bago mong public service program dito sa Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM. Tuwing Huwebes ng gabi, makiosyoso, makidiskurso at makialam. Dahil ang tamang tanong may swak na solusyon.